opportunity, I am going to talk about the book A Dog's Purpose, written by Bruce Cameron. Well, the book begins introducing Toby, which is a feral puppy whose mother nurses him, and he generally lives a hard life, which includes exploring and searching for food in the forest with his canine siblings, Fast, Hungry, and Sister. One day, men enter the forest and they capture Toby and his family, taking them to a home which is for abandoned dogs run by Senora, who is a tiny elderly woman. In that place, there are many dogs, and, and Toby has to adjust to his new environment. And then Toby is wounded seriously in a fight, and then animals officers descends upon the yard, and they have orders to close the yard since because of unhealthy sanitation practices and the care that animals receive in that place. And later, they euthanize all the dogs that live in that place, including Toby. So the first experience of life for Toby ends there. Then Toby, then in his second reincarnation, Toby comes back as a female golden retriever, and in the first day of her life, the female dog spends most of her time in a cage with his siblings. But later, their 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 owner lets them out of the cage to play and explore. And, and the female dog the female dog one day decides to embark on an adventure, and she trots on the road, and a man who is driving a tractor sees her, and he decides to stop, and he picks the female dog up, and consequently he named the female dog as Bella. And then the tracker decides to go to a nearby bar, leaving Bella in the cab of the vehicle, and he spends too many hours outside, and he doesn't come back. Then a woman finds Bella and she breaks the window to take out Bella from the cab, and she gives food and water to the female dog, and then she takes her to her to her home, and there in her home she presents Bella to her son Ethan, and they remain the Bella with the name of Belly. And Belly loves Ethan deeply. And in the summer, Ethan decides to visit his grandparents in the country, and in that place, Ethan knows a girl whose name is Hannah. And Ethan falls in love with Hannah, and then there is also another person whose name is Todd, who is a boy. And one day, Todd is seen by Dolly sitting sitting fire to Ethan's house. And then when Ethan decides to go away to college, Hannah promises to Ethan that she will write him every day. But When Ethan comes back on a visit, he realizes that he realizes that Hannah has another boyfriend. And then, some time later, the female dog Belly gets sick and weakens. And and Ethan's family decides to euthanize Belly since they know that the dog is suffering too much because uh, she is in pain. And so the second experience of life ends here. Then the puppy, the puppy, the third reincarnation of the puppy, yeah, is when he comes back again to life, and she is adopted by a policeman whose name is Jacob. And the man told the the puppy that now he has come back in a female Labrador retriever, and the policeman called Ellie. Well, now Ellie undergoes training to work as a search and rescue canine, and on one mission, Ellie leads Jacob to a girl that has been kidnapped, and while they were arresting the kidnapper, and Jacob is seriously wounded. So the Maya, who is a co-worker of Jacob, decides to take Ellie to her home, and she takes care of Ellie until Ellie's death of old age. And the last reincarnation of Toby is that he comes back as Barry, and in this time, Barry meets up with his beloved owner, that is Elsa, and he now is a, a black retriever, and Barry and Ethan brings the two of them by smell. But now Ethan is has become an old man, and they get along well with. And, but at the end of the book, the dog has found his purpose of life, and decides what the purpose of a dog is, and he has achieved his purpose.
Hello, in this opportunity, I'm going to talk about the author's information, the characters, and the synopsis of the book. So, I'm going to start talking about the author's information. The author of the book is called Bruce Cameron. So, he was born in 1960. He is an American author, and also he is very famous for his novel, which is called A Dog's Purpose, which was published in 2017. So, this novel has been one of the most sold in New York. Bruce began his career writing a family newspaper, humor column, and eventually he became an internationally syndicated columnist. And also, Bruce has published more than 50 best-selling books, which have been translated into over 50 languages. So, A Dog's Purpose, A Dog's Purpose trilogy has the highest overall readers of rating in New York as the best-selling. Now, I'm going to talk about the characters. The first one is Toby. Toby is the main character of the story, so he's known for these names: Bella, Fella, Belly, Buddy, and Ali. So this is the dog that has a good relationship with humans. Then we have Exam. He is Toby's best friend, and also he likes football, swimming, and fishing. So he enjoys doing those kind of sports. Then we have Spike. Spike is a dog that takes care of the yard all the time. Then we have Jacob. Jacob is a policeman, and also he is a man who has a cracked mind, and he's reading the Workaholic Express circles, and he pushes Alia to be the best dog in the canine forest. Then we have Fast. Fast is Toby's brother, so he is a dog that likes to play with Sister, which is his sister. Then we have Sister. Sister is Toby's sister, and she likes to play with his brother Fast. Then we have Maya. Maya is a young woman who is pretty, sweet, and a good person. And also, she has a beautiful smile. At the same time, she is lonely. Then we have Senora. Senora is a kind of elderly woman who takes care the dogs all the time. Then we have Hungry. Hungry is Toby's brother. So, as his name says, he is hungry all the time, and also he is sleeping all the time as well. Then we have Wendy. Wendy is a young woman who dresses appendix pants. And the last one is Hannah. Hannah is the girl to whom Exam is in love with. Now, I'm going to talk about the synopsis of the book. So, through a dog's purpose, Cameron examines the love shared by canines and their people from their point of view. So Cameron's puppy protagonist takes readers on a journey from his life, and also from his life because the dog lives and dies several times. So starting off as a pup in a Strays litter, the young dog has his first interaction with humans. So there he starts to love people, and he starts to have a good relationship with humans. So Cameron explains that the world through the eyes of a dog is clever in its humor, touches, and balays conclusions that cats cannot be trusted. And also, Cameron explains that horses are completely different from dogs because they cannot have a good relationship with humans, and they cannot interact with humans as well. So finally the novel is bound to make readers in a different way, in which they can believe things that cannot believe things that the book says. However, the book may lie in changing the way in which readers think about their current pets. But that happens because, as we know, that is impossible, that our dogs lives and dies several times as the book says. And there is another thing why dogs can have a good relationship and interact with humans, and that is because a dog innate desires the pleasure of interact with humans, and that's all.
Hello everyone! So far, we have heard many details about the book and a few more things about pets in general, specifically about dogs. That's the main point of this book. In this opportunity, I'm going to mention two very important things about pets that we could take into account. The purpose of having a pet nowadays. Today, we can see that many people have at least one pet. The most common are dogs and cats. So there are also very peculiar pets, such as parakeets, rabbits, birds, etc. And what does this have to do with the book, you might ask yourself? Because the book mentions the story of the coexistence between dogs and humans. And although it is a story, in reality there is also that relationship. But what is the purpose of having a pet today? Many people have dogs to look after their houses, or they have cats to eat mice, etc. However, there are also people who consider pets part of their families. Sometimes they give more value to pets than to a human being. And it is that pet owners certainly believe that their pets provide emotional support, especially in times of stress. And luckily, science seems to back that up. There is also some research showing that having a pet with you during an anxious event could help reduce the stress of that event. People's good mood increases and bad mood decreases around pets. And we know there are immediate, short-term physiological and psychological benefits to interacting with pets. Dogs are not allowed to choose where they live. My fate would be decided by people. We find this phrase in the book, and we can understand that animals do not have a programmed choice about what their destiny would be, but that humans have the power to make that decision. Some for the better, others for the worse. But this time we want to present the positive side of having a pet. Humans were capable of so many amazing things, but too often they just sat making words, not doing anything. It's another quote that we can find in this book. Many times, the company of our pets makes us feel so good even when we are not paying attention to them. We know that they are there near us. We can get rid of our stress just by watching their tricks or seeing them do anything, even if they are only sleeping. They cause us happiness and peace. More than a pet. Dogs have important jobs, like barking when the doorbell rings, but cats have no function in a house whatsoever. That's what the book mentions. People often think that an animal has a specific function. This depends on who adopts it. In reality, it is not like that. A pet is not just a simple animal. It also requires special care. Their diet, their health, and above all, their emotional well-being could be saved. Because in fact, although they do not know how to accurately distinguish emotions such as humans, they express them and show their happiness and confidence that they feel when being with whom they feel safe. It should also be noted that there are many animals apart from dogs and cats that are part of our homes. As we have seen in these different videos and images, appear iguanas. Generally, they are known because they are usually aggressive and of course wild. In my case, I was really blessed because they are so calm, and even though they do not do more than eat, rest under the sun and sleep, for me, they have been an unexpected gift. My boy has been with me since he was a baby and got used to human treatment. I still have to treat the girl with care because she has a long way to get used to. And I feel that by not having them with me, there is something that is not complete. And I even understand what they want just by looking at their movements. Cats have always lived with them, of course keeping their distance, right? And so they have known how to get along, and they are the best pets I have ever had in my life, and I wouldn't change them for anything. Pets are more than that. They fill our homes with fun and love.
Based on the book A Dog's Purpose, there is a part at the beginning of the book where it is related that a woman who owns a shelter used to rescue homeless dogs. In that part, the reader can realize that her purpose was to save dog lives. Another character in another chapter of the book takes the dog as a cure for his loneliness, but the person became careless by leaving the dog in a car with the windows up. And other people take the dog as a companion who deserves to be educated and treated as a living being. And so, among other situations of abuse and benevolence presenting throughout the book, we can figure that the story is very based on real life. I know that more than some of us have noticed the mistreatment that a dog experiences anywhere in the world, and the impotence that not being able to help for some people generates. Many times we find a stray dog, hungry and sick, and we have no idea what the dog has been through. We just walk past him and say the misused word, poor animal. So they call themselves dog lovers and they don't give a little of that love to a stray dog. Anyway, hypocrisy, right? But what does it mean to have a dog? For Ethan Montgomery, for example, a dog is not a simple friend. For him, it means having a brother, accompanying your happy and ugly moments. It means that it is a being that is part of the family and must be treated as part of it as well. For me, having a dog is having the love of your life with you. It is knowing that someone is faithful to you, whatever you are. And I know it sounds unfair, but it is the truth. I have two real examples of it. My dogs are boisterous, daring, clumsy, and sometimes they get into trouble. But I cannot live without them. Because when I'm alone, they are my best company and my best friends to enjoy. Then there is a stray dog. He has a home and an owner, but they themselves have thrown it out on the street because he is not a good breed. However, as you can see, he is always loyal to the place that he unfortunately sees as home, even though we all know it is only in his mind. The purpose of Bailey, or rather the main dog, was to be the best dog for his master, who in this case became obsessed with Ethan's love. Our protagonist felt that his affection and his being was not enough to equal or exceed the love of his human. So, for all the lives that our protagonist had, he decided to take advantage of what he'd learned to take care of the last days of his human. Let's remember that the dog has many more lives after having lived with Ethan when the boy was young. and that each life left our protagonist a lesson that he will use in his next life. Upon returning to the life of his ex-master, who was already an old man, the dog decided to apply what he had learned and thus, finally, the best dog for his human. His purpose in the end is completed by having accompanied his human until his last moments of life, giving him a less painful death. But what would be the purpose of life for our pets? Well, I consider that all dogs have a different purpose. It might not be the same as that of our protagonist, but I know there is one. And because we can read our pets' minds, I know they are capable of understanding our ideas or emotions. Don't think of yourself as someone who is not in his right mind to talk to a dog. This is one of the impossible questions to answer, because even we humans do not know our exact purpose of our life. I can only say that the purpose of my pets, and perhaps I'm wrong, it is to make our life less dull and boring by giving us a lot of love and the occasional headache from their antics. Likewise, these little creatures make us better people, better persons that we think, because they make us value someone else's life. And you, have you considered loving your pets more?
For a Dog's Purpose. It is a book that animal lovers cannot miss, and that will undoubtedly lead us to meditate not only on the feelings of our dog friends and companions in life, but also on the purpose of each being in our lives. In the first chapters, we see how our protagonist discovers that he has the ability to live several lives, and in each one of them, he must find the purpose for which he is in this world. Each of their lives touched my heart because I have 3 dog friends with very different stories. One of them came home very mistreated, going hungry, and reading that story made me feel very anguished, knowing that my little one had gone through that. Our protagonist, in his second life, reincarnates as Bailey, a Labrador retriever who meets Ethan. Both quickly become attached, managing to generate an indestructible bond. The emotions that Cameron describes about the bond that one generates with a dog are perfect. One would believe that the story is based on the two of them and the relationship they both have, but no, it is only the beginning. Ethan and Bailey were together until the moment when Bailey had to reincarnate again, live different adventures with a great purpose, reunite with Ethan. The narration is simple, managing to catch you in each chapter. Cameron did a great job developing communication with other animals and their behaviors. He got out of the stereotype that movies sold us that speak with an almost human language between dogs, and that managed to catch me because it gives that realistic touch. I cried a lot as I turned the pages, and especially at the end of the book. I couldn't help it. Closing the book makes you question many things that for us is normal, and for them it may be a sign of not being a good dog. a story to ponder, not only with our four-legged friends, but also with our lives. Bailey believes that we are all born to help someone, and at a certain point, it is true. Throughout our lives, we have helped many people, but our life purpose is at least only one of those people to leave a message that will change his life. Hand in hand with Bailey, as he is calling his first life, we will make a long journey through the years and different lives that our protagonist must live to understand his final purpose on this earth. Without a doubt, it is his first life that will mark his entire history. In this, he will meet little Ethan, whose home he will arrive as just a puppy. Together, they will live 1,000 adventures and become inseparable. We will see the evolution of each one in the family life, not without problems that surround them. We will witness Ethan's passage from boy to man and how Bailey's company becomes essential in his life. Although this part of the book is the longest, and on some occasions it may seem that they deal only with issues of daily life. It will be through these experiences that we will understand the feelings of the child and the dog, a mutual love of those that are remembered throughout life. Now, we know that these faithful little animals have a short life compared to ours, and the moment of farewell will come. But for Bailey, it will be a moment of tranquility, since he feels that he has fulfilled his mission of being the companion of his boy. However, the bewilderment seizes him when he is born again as a puppy again. But with all the memories of his past experience, and he must again discover that he brought him back to this world. So our friend will live different lives, and in each one he will give us a learning lesson about what the life of a dog means. Some difficult and hard, others very exciting, but in which the memory of his first life together will always haunt to Ethan. This novel makes us suffer and laugh in equal parts. It gives us very funny thoughts, such as the way the dog sees cats or considers horses stupid animals, and the way they relate to each other. But it also has its sad episodes, especially when we see the mistreatment they suffer. The treatment that is given to them in the kennels or the responsible owners, and the sad moment in which they must live. I liked the way in which the author uses the same dog as narrator, since he gives us such a close look that it is impossible to look at our pets with the same eyes now. It leads us to put ourselves in their shoes and ask ourselves about their thoughts and feelings. Undoubtedly a highly recommended novel for both adults and to teach our children to respect animals and be responsible for them if they have decided to have them as a pet. A journey through the mind of a dog through different lives, in which each one will bring you closer to your final purpose, to the reason for being on this earth, with a round and exciting ending that certainly doesn't disappoint. A book that you will undoubtedly remember every time you come across one of these friends of four legs.